Thank you for all of you who decided to tune into my embarrassing podcast episode that I shared with you yesterday. That was really a challenge to get out of my comfort zone and connect with you guys also more deeply, because I feel that by sharing failure, it's we all fail at things, but it's really crappy to share failures with other people sometimes because of all the, what if people reject me? What if you guys think I'm a big idiot forevermore? All of these feelings come up, which is actually to the subject that I wanted to talk about today, which is approval addiction. So one of my goals for this quarter was to sort of defrag my mind. I'm not sure, I don't know why. I've been thinking in terms of computer analogies a lot lately, but I wanted to basically, I have a lot of negative or destructive mental habits that inhibit my general enjoyments of life. Now, let me say that I'm overall quite a happy person. I would say that I've been doing a gratitude journal recently. I consistently tend to rate my days around an 8. Not every day, but I'm generally fairly happy. So this isn't coming from a place of being in the depths of despair. Where it's coming from for me, although I've been there, where it's coming from for me is that I lack consistency, and I fall victim to the artist thing. The artist thing where, the highs and the lows and all those. That's sort of been my past, and in some ways my present as well. So I can be pretty happy, but when I have a low, it's a low. It's not just I dip a few points. It's not like I go from an 8 to a 6. It's I go from an 8 to a 2. It's I have these pretty spectacular crashes. And that's not particularly helpful or useful. Certainly feels awful in the moment. And a lot of this I feel has to do with running buggy software in my brain. It's I've made connections that shouldn't be there. If I don't create something of value, I don't have value. If someone doesn't love me, it means that I am unlovable. A lot of these long-held, deeply entrenched beliefs that I'm starting to learn a little bit more about and understand the way that they've run amok in my life, and just trying to, bit by bit, detach myself from these destructive thought patterns that really get in the way of my, enjoying my life to the fullest potential, which is what I want, is probably what all of us want. What was the quote? Something about how what we're really looking for is an experience of life, not the meaning of life. I don't know if it was a Joseph Campbell quote or something like that. I really, really love life. I have these moments of ecstatic joy for being alive, moments where, and this is a little bit of an artist tendency too, I tend to exist on high highs and low lows. My high highs, I can be brought to tears by seemingly simple things, having a conversation with someone and just really feeling connected, or staring at a beautiful sunset. These are the kinds of experiences that bring me such immense pleasure and joy that it can bring tears to my eyes. I really love life, and I want to, more than anything, while I'm on this planet, while I exist, I just want to enjoy it. I just want to really make sure that I'm not, and that doesn't mean achieving things, although sometimes I guess to me it equates as that. It's more just I want to make sure I taste it. I want to make sure I see the colors on here, that I taste the flavors when I'm here, and all of those things, that I don't get distracted. I don't get too busy. I don't get too far in my head or out of the moment, which is my tendency. So all of this is coming from a place of relatively good inner health and harmony, and just a desire to function better. Just get rid of some of my buggy software, basically. So there's this book that I have mentioned reading this before. I've been working my way slowly, maybe not as quickly as I should be working through it, but bits and pieces here and there. Feeling Good by David Burns. And there's some fun little exercises in this book, fun little tests. One of the fun little tests is where you answer a series of questions, say for example, I'm gonna actually give you an example. And you have to answer with basically how strongly you agree or disagree, right? It's a very standard test. It is best to give up my own interests in order to please other people. Do you agree strongly, just a little bit, disagree strongly, etc.? So you answer these in sets of 5, and then you get a score. And the score basically tells you, okay, you probably have some negative associations with approval. So I'll read you a couple others about approval because that's what we're talking about today. I need other people's approval in order to be happy. And the idea is not to, like, I know what the right answer is to that question. It's just like pop quiz. I don't need your approval to be happy. I could be happy all on my own. Yay, I got an A+. But do you really fundamentally do you believe that? Like, if you actually ask yourself, do I feel like I need other people's approval to be happy? And I think I put like agree slightly. I do. I wish I didn't, but that exists, and I don't want to lie to myself. If someone important expects me to do something, then I really should do it. My value as a person depends greatly on what other people think of me. Criticism will obviously upset the person who receives the criticism. So these are the 5 questions related to approval. My score was not great for that particular one. There's several categories of questions that you can kind of go through. Like if you have a negative relationship with needing approval, with needing love, with achievement, perfectionism, entitlement, omnipotence, and autonomy. And out of all of those, I really scored well with autonomy. I don't hold other people accountable for anything in my life. I do have a healthy relationship with being like the master of my own destiny, the captain of my ship. So at least there's like one score that's not quite so so low. But I've been thinking about approval addiction, and how do you stop thinking that you're that if I don't create anything of value, then or that other people value, that I'm not worth something. That if I don't do what someone asks, that I am a really bad, terrible person, or all these things. And I ended up creating myself a little manifesto, just like a really short essay on just the logical fallacies. Like I wanted to approach this from a really targeted left brain approach. So the author has some examples in here that I find really useful. I just wanted to share a few of them with you just to, I don't know, maybe get the ball rolling in your brain. But one thing, and some of these might be self-evident as well, and some of you might not have an addiction to approval. Some of you might be just fine. It's, as a side note, it feels weird to admit that I have any type of approval addiction, or it's not so much, this is very dramatized because it's not really that severe, but it does act in insidious ways in my life. But I am someone who has time and again gone against the grain and gone against social norms. So I might like to think of myself as someone who is like, okay, well, I'm vegan. I didn't go to college. I don't have a regular job. I'm an entrepreneur. I have like an online business that I created myself. I make a lot of decisions that are like against the norm of like my friends, my family, like society at large, things like that. So I've always liked to think, oh, I don't need other people's approval. I'm good. I got this. But I actually feel quite a bit of pain at the idea of disapproval. But I do these things anyway, despite the pain that I feel when I face other people's disapproval, whether real or imagined. But I would like to remove some of the pain associated with not being approved of. So, for example, some of the counter arguments that you could make to yourself about this would be like, remember that when someone reacts negatively to you, it could be their irrational thinking as opposed to something you actually did. That's at the heart of the disapproval. It doesn't necessarily mean it is, but it could be. So if you out there watch this video and you're like, Allysia, you're big, stupid poop head, then does that say something about me or does that say something about you? It could be both. It could be one or the other, but it's not, I don't have to automatically assume that there's something wrong with me, which is my tendency. And that's why I'm sensitive to criticism sometimes. And this is more important. If the criticism is valid, this doesn't need to destroy you. You can pinpoint your error and take steps to correct it. You can learn from your mistakes and you don't have to be ashamed of them. If you're human, then you should and must make mistakes. It's part of being human. It's like in your nature, it's the way it is. There doesn't need to be this signature of shame when you disappoint someone, even if you actually are at fault and you made the mistake. And then also, it doesn't have to translate to if you make a mistake, you are like a worthless person or you're a loser or you always mess up or things like that. It's impossible to be wrong most of the time or even all of the time or like some of the time. I mean, think about the thousands of things you've done right. And of course, everyone has the ability to change and grow. And one more, but I tried to come up with a pretty extensive list for myself. I was like, okay, I am debating myself. My internal, I don't know, it was like a little gremlin who just really wants to be approved of and loved. Is like, okay, I see you, I hear you, but this is where you're wrong. And I tried to make like a solid case against myself. So this is something that I've been working with recently, like in the last few days. Other people cannot judge your worth as a human being. Only the validity or merit of specific actions you take or things you do. So people can judge your actions, but not you as a person. If your mother thinks you're irresponsible, she's noticing your actions, and that caused her to call you irresponsible. It may or may not be true that your actions are irresponsible. Dropping out of college, for example, your mom might be like, wow, you're a terrible son who is irresponsible. It might stand to reason that you made impulsive decisions. Maybe you even made mistakes, but that doesn't mean you as a person are irresponsible. You as a person, it's just your actions. So the idea that another person cannot judge you, no one has that power. No one in the universe. I guess if you're religious, maybe God, but no human, that's for sure. So this is just some thoughts that I've been mulling over as I go through my mental defragging process this quarter, which has actually been very lovely, if a bit chaotic at times. But it's been a really worthwhile journey to prioritize my emotional and mental well-being, even when at times it's been difficult, because it allows me to have better relationships with people. It allows me to approach my work with more like energy and interest and enthusiasm. It gives me a greater sense of purpose, and most of my days are quite happy as a result. So fun process, still lots of work to do. I'll catch up with you guys later.